объектыг тогтоох юмар ерөнхийдөө тухайн компани үйл ажиллагааны зорилго зориулт алсын хагаа эдгэртээ өөрийнхөө тэр эрсдэлтийн өдөртгөө авчиж байгаа юм гэдгийг бол хэлж байгаа.
Because I can just, during 20 minutes, give you not the essence of the ALM, but just the flavor of ALM. So I will cover very quickly some topics of ALM. Again, I don't know if we will have time for question time after the presentation, because I can notice that we are already late. So, excuse me?
Yeah, not
okay. So, as introduction, first I want to remind you what is the structure of the financial markets and what are the role of the financial sector in the economy. In the economy, you have people which are in deficit of funds to fund activities, and you have on this side people, enterprise, agents who have too much resources. And the role of the financial sector is to put these different agents together to allow the ones who have too many funding to fund the ones who are in lack of funding. So you have in this situation two options. You have first the direct contact between the one we are in surplus and the ones who are in deficit, and you have a direct contact, cash from there to there and contracts from there to there. But you have also, and this is not really the rule, the common rule, but you have also the fact that you have financial institutions who can play the role of intermediates between the ones who are in surplus and the ones who are in deficit. So the problem at this level is that the contractual agreements are made between the financial institutions with the ones in surplus and other contracts between the ones who are in deficit and the financial institutions. Of course, if we are speaking about risk, in this case, the risk is in the hands of the one which is taking which is installing the business, and the one which is at risk is the one which is providing the funding directly. You are purchasing a share on the stock exchange. In this case, you are taking the risk with the company. You are purchasing the share. But when you are the financial intermediation which is running, in this case, the one which is taking the risk is the financial institution, which is at risk, taking into account the one which is asking the credit, generally speaking, and the one which is providing the funding to the financial institutions is at risk to the financial institutions. Is not at risk to the final user of the funds. And this is the beginning of ALM. This is the story. Why? Because financial institutions are collecting funds at this level, so taking some risk, and are giving these funds to financial, to economic agents, which are, of course, at risk. You know that credit risk is probably the most important risk in the financial sector, but we will see a little bit later that at this level also the intermediate big inflation and the structure of the balance sheet of financial institutions is relatively simple. They are collecting short-term deposits and they are lending long-term credits. They were giving long-term credits to financial actors. And before this financial crisis, banking business is relatively simple. There is a joke in the market, which is the 363 principle. That at least one is funny. 363. 363. Somebody has an idea of what is the 363 principles? No? We collect a deposit at 3%, okay? We give credits at 6%, and the 3 is not the difference between 6 minus 3, but bankers at this period, so in the 60s, at 3 p.m. we are going to play golf. It's relatively easy, interest margins are comfortable, and the business to manage a bank is again relatively simple. But with this crisis in the 70s, it's much more difficult. Why? Because short-term funding of banks increase, interest rates, the price of the funding increase, without modification of the revenue, which is paid by the debtors, by the ones who have credits. It means that in the 70s, mid-70s, late 70s, a lot of financial institutions in the United States had problems and were bankrupt. And you have nearly 300 deposits institutions which were bankrupt at this period because weak management between the collection of funding and the allocation of credits. So keep in mind that the ALM started in the late 70s, beginning 80s with this crisis, and the managers of bank, in place of playing golf at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, has to think about, at this period, start to think about risk management. So I think also it's quite interesting to keep in mind what are the roles and functions of banks. So banks are there to collect funds, to reuse these funds, to inject these funds in the economy, to process payments. It's an important role of financial institutions to ease the flow of payments through the economy. And last but not least, to act as broker or intermediate in financial deals. And additionally to these functions, the banks have the roles to create money. It means that the paper money, you have the bank money, you have the traditional paper money, the notes, the coins, which is part of the money supply. But the banks are allowed in the process of deposits and loans, are allowed to create money. But remember the previous scheme, banks are collecting deposits and are giving loans. They play also the role of transformator. There is a transformation in terms of maturities. People who are depositing money generally are depositing on a short-term basis, and people who are taking loans generally are asking for long-term loans. So there is a difference of maturities between assets and liabilities in the bank. Amounts, generally the deposits are relatively low amounts. Progressively people are making some savings, depositing money in the banks, but when you are asking a loan for a car, for a house, or I don't know what, or to fund your business, generally speaking, this amount is relatively comfortable. There is also a transformation related to the people. It means that you have a kind of Chinese wall between assets and liabilities, and the people who are lending are not knowing, people who are depositing are not knowing the ones who are the lenders. So this is the role of the bank to take, remember again, to take at this level the credit risk to the ones who are needing money. And of course the place, this is also a kind of specific geographical transformation. When you make the analysis of the financial flows in a country, you can generally state that you have some places, some regions which are more rich than other ones, and where people are making more savings, and in other regions people are more borrowers. So there is also a role for the banks and in this situation. But again, what is the issue in this structure? The issue is here. You have people who are depositing money in the financial institutions, and the role of the regulators, generally speaking, again, is to take care of what the financial institutions is making with these deposits. Is the financial institutions able to repay the deposits to depositors? This is the main concern probably of the regulator, and the regulators at this level, in the transformation role of the bank, at this level the financial regulators have to take care about the fact that financial institutions are able to repay the deposits which are made by depositors. So if we can to propose a few about what is ALM finally for financial institutions. So ALM is the risk management of, and this is why it is underlined, of planned change of the balance sheet structure. What is the behavior of your assets and your liabilities? Assets, liabilities, or deposits, and assets, generally I will call that loans. So you have different behaviors of these assets and liabilities. How can we imagine the way they are going to evolve in the future? So the objective of the function, ALM function in the bank, is first to maximize and stabilize the money you are the margin you are making between assets and liabilities, what you are earning on your loans, and what you are paying to your depositors. Remember that what managers, what investors, what depositors don't like is the instability. So the role of the ALM is to try to have this margin, which is also called net interest margin. Difference between deposits of risk, assessment of risk is a quite important function for the ALM manager.
СЕМИНАРт сэтгэлтэй боломжтой болсон зөвхөн сургуулийн халуун хамны талаар зэрэгж байна. Тэгээд ихлэх өмнө би нэг зүйлийг хэлмээр байна. Нэгдүгээр нь сүүлийн жилүүдэд Монгол Улсын сургуулийн математик
Монгол Улсын сургуулийн математик хөгжлийн сургуулиас хэрэглээний математикийн чиглэлээр гадаадын болон дотоодын сургуулиудад